Update 2. Walter was sentenced on a Thursday morning. The kind of morning that looks gentle from the outside. Clean sky, early sun, birds loud enough to be rude. I sat behind him, my posture straight, my hands folded like I was attending a meeting instead of watching my husband's life get reduced to paperwork and procedure. The courtroom was quiet in the way only rooms full of restraint can be. No murmurs, no outbursts, just breath held collectively while a man's life was translated into legal language that pretended neutrality. Walter was more present than I've ever seen him. Not defiant, not broken, present. His parents were to my left and right. His father wore a dark suit, no badge, no insignia, no signal of rank. Just a man sitting as a parent, jaw tight, hands folded like he was containing something volatile inside his chest. His mother held her purse in her lap the entire time, fingers curled around the strap like it was the only solid thing in the room. When the judge finished speaking, Walter didn't look at the floor. He didn't look angry. He just nodded once, slow, like he'd already decided how he was going to survive this. Walter squeezed my hand before they took him back. "Tell them I love them," he said. "Not I'll be home soon. Not promises. Just love." I leaned forward when they told us to step back and held his gaze until they told me again. I wanted Walter to see me steady when he turned around. And he did. Outside, the air felt wrong, too bright, too normal. We stood there in that half-circle families make when something irreversible has just happened and nobody knows where to stand anymore. Walter's father spoke first, voice low, measured. He said he'd already tried, quietly, through channels that didn't leave fingerprints. He said the moment alcohol entered the official narrative, his hands were tied tighter than ours. Too many eyes, too many people eager to prove nobody was above process. He didn't say corruption, he didn't say setup, but he did say this didn't feel right. And that was enough. We talked about the kids then, not logistics. Language, what to say, what not to say, how to explain absence without instilling fear. I waited until that evening. Homework finished, dinner eaten, teeth brushed. I sat on the edge of the couch and called them over like it was any other night. I did not say jail. I did not say prison. I did not say injustice. I said, Daddy didn't do what they're saying. And I said it like a fact, not a hope. They asked when he'd be home. I told them we didn't know yet, but that didn't mean never. They nodded, absorbing it in that quiet way children do when they don't have the language for grief yet. Later, after they went to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen and cried into my hands without making a sound. I go see Walter the following weekend. If you've never done visitation, it's its own kind of humiliation. The fluorescent lights that make everybody look a little sick. The plastic chairs bolted to the floor. The way love has to fit inside rules that weren't built for it. Walter looks tired when they bring him out. Older, still handsome, still my husband, but carrying a weight I've never seen on him before. The kind of tired that comes from holding your sanity together minute by minute. We start with small talk. The kids, the house, his parents, things that feel safe to say out loud. I wait until a guard passes behind him before I lean in. "Did you call me in the middle of the night?" I ask, keeping my voice low. He frowns immediately, real confusion. "What?" "Earlier this week," I say, 3 in the morning, I got an inmate call. When I answered, somebody said, "Sandra, don't trust everybody in your friend group." Then it hung up. He stares at me like I just spoke a different language. "I don't even have phone time at 3 in the morning," he says. "You know that. We locked down before midnight. I ain't touched that phone since Tuesday, and I damn sure wouldn't call you playing games like that." "I know," I say. My eyes burn. "That's why I'm scared." He leans back, jaw tightening, eyes sliding past me the way they do when he's thinking through something ugly. What exactly did they say? He asks. I repeat it. He shakes his head slowly. Nah, he says. Somebody playing dirty around my name, around my life, around my family. Then he looks back at me, eyes sharper now. You tell Terrell? Yeah. Good, he says, because if they trying to spook you, that means they nervous. And if they nervous, something ain't as solid as they pretending. That sits in my chest long after the guard tells us time's up. I don't tell the friend group right away. Part of it is shame. Like having a husband in jail already marks me enough. Part of it is survival. I'm still figuring out who I am now, that my life is split into before court and after sentencing. But a few nights later, we're all at Kiara's place. Takeout on the counter. Music low. Everybody pretending this is just another night. Michelle asks if I've been sleeping, and it slips. Not really, I say. Somebody from the prison called me at 3 in the morning talking about, Sandra, don't trust everybody in your friend group. The room changes immediately. Kiara stills. Michelle's face tightens. Ayla straightens so fast it's like instinct. And Dante reacts too fast. What? He blurts. Too loud. Brian looks over from the kitchen. Taylor suddenly can't seem to keep her hands still. Dante laughs once, tries to smooth it over. You sure it wasn't just some random dude playing on the phone? People sick like that. It came from the prison system, I say. You can't prank a DOC line. Brian offers a maybe, a shrug, a theory. And say my name? I ask. Nah. Nobody says anything after that, but I feel it. The way the air wraps around certain people differently. The way some reactions land heavier than others. Dante sounds offended, upset, but it's sharp, defensive, like he's reacting to the fact that it was said at all. That's when I understand something I don't want to understand yet. This isn't just about Walter, and whatever is coming next, it's already moving. By Monday morning, the world had adjusted. Emails shifted tone. Calls came with pauses before names. I let the crisis team handle them. That was the point of hiring people who could say no comment without trembling. Still, I could feel the scrutiny even when I wasn't the one answering the phone. At work, people looked at me like I might crack. I didn't. Every time someone hesitated, every time someone softened their voice, I said it again. Walter is innocent. Not loudly, not defensively, just consistently. The gathering was supposed to feel normal. It didn't. Brian arrived late, moved wrong, dressed wrong. When Michelle asked what happened, he said he fell behind the gallery. Flat ground. Bad luck. Nobody laughed, nobody pushed, but nobody believed him either. I watched his face as he spoke, the way he avoided stillness, the way his body told a different story than his mouth, and something inside me clicked into place. That recognition, quiet, unwelcome, settled deep. I had seen that look before. I had worn it. Brian didn't owe us the truth, but I knew he wasn't telling it. And that scared me more than if he had. It wasn't in the courtroom. It wasn't at work. It wasn't even that night at Kiara's. It was the drive home afterward. No calls to make, no updates to give, no reassurance left to borrow. I realized then that believing in someone publicly isolates you faster than doubt ever could. People respect certainty. They distrust conviction that hasn't been validated yet. I wasn't naive. I was just early, and that meant standing still while everyone else edged away, waiting to see if I'd fall. After Kiara's house, nothing felt settled. The sentence had been handed down. The routine had resumed, and yet everything in me stayed alert, like my body didn't trust the quiet. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 3 in the morning, a sharp knock cut through the house. Not frantic, not polite, just loud enough to wake me fully. By the time I reached the door, the porch was empty. I checked the doorbell cam. No face, no shadow lingering. Just a few seconds of motion and then nothing. When I opened the door, the note was there, folded once, plain paper, no envelope. Keep going. That was it. No name, no explanation, no threat. My hands shook anyway. Terrell said no when I asked him if it was him, if he'd sent someone, if this was some kind of warning I didn't understand yet. It wasn't. He told me to lock the door, to set the alarm, to document everything. His voice stayed calm, but I could hear the shift in it, the part of him that didn't like unanswered questions any more than I did. After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the note until the words stopped looking real. Then I called Kiara. I told her about the knock, the note, the silence afterward. She didn't sound surprised. She exhaled slowly, like someone who had been waiting for this call. "You're not crazy," she said. Not gently, not soothingly. Just flat, grounded truth. "And you're not wrong." That was when she told me about Kendall and the exposé, about the digging, the cross-checking, the way certain names kept surfacing no matter which direction the paper trail ran. She didn't give me details she couldn't protect yet. She didn't dramatize it. She just let me know that things were moving, even if they looked stalled from the outside. "Something's coming," she said, "and it's not small." I thought about Brian then, about his bruises, about the way he'd lied too quickly, too casually, like he was trying to beat the truth to the air before it settled. I told Kiara I didn't believe him. She didn't hesitate. Neither do I. The more I replayed that night at Kiara's, the more unsettled I felt. Brian's injuries didn't match his story. Dante's silence didn't match his personality. And Taylor had always been positioned as someone to protect. Family, cousin, victim. But now, in the quiet moments, I kept hearing the voice saying not to trust everyone in my friend group. Now all of it sounded like something else. Not fear, warning. I didn't accuse her. I didn't confront her. I just watched. And every time I did, I felt that same unease crawl up my spine. The news came fast. Dante was in the ER at Cedars, jumped, stable. By the time we walked those hallways together, the air felt heavier than it had in Walter's room weeks earlier, like the building itself knew this wasn't random. I watched Dante try to explain it away. Kids, alley, wrong place, wrong time. I didn't believe him, because fear has a sound, and his voice was full of it. When T. Greaves appeared and Dante's whole body stiffened, I felt something settle in my chest. This wasn't chaos. This was consequence. After that, Taylor started pulling away. Nothing dramatic or obvious, just fewer check-ins and subtle redirection whenever Walter's case came up. By the end of that week, I understood something I hadn't before. Silence isn't neutral. It's chosen. Someone was trying to slow me down. Someone else was telling me not to stop. And the people I thought I knew best were suddenly harder to read than strangers. I folded the note back up and tucked it into a drawer I didn't open often. Not because I was scared, but because I finally knew I wasn't alone in seeing the cracks. And whatever was coming next, I was already moving toward it. Final update. My phone starts lighting up while I'm standing at the counter. Tea warm in my hand, the house finally quiet for the evening. I don't open anything right away. I already knew it was coming. Kiara warned me. Terrell warned me. That call in the middle of the night warned me. Still, knowing something is coming and seeing it are two different kinds of weight. I set the mug down. I sit at the table. I let the phone rest face down in front of me, like it might say something out loud if I'm not careful. I give myself a minute, just breathing, just reminding myself I've lived through worse days than this. Then I turn it over. The expose is everywhere. Some of it confirms what my body has been trying to tell me for months. The pressure, the shortcuts, the way systems bend when the right people lean on them. That part doesn't shock me. It makes me tired in a bone-deep way. Taylor's name hits harder than I expect. Seeing it laid out, contextualized, undeniable, feels like grief layered on top of betrayal. I stop reading halfway through her section. My chest tightens in that familiar way that means I need to sit with it before it turns into anger. And then there's Brian. That part surprises me. Not because I think he's incapable of wrongdoing. I stopped believing in spotless people a long time ago, but the way he's mentioned feels incomplete, like I'm being shown the outline of a shape without the weight of it. There's more there. I don't know what yet. I just know the story isn't finished. I close the article. I don't open social media again that night. Dante is arrested. I hear it first from Terrell, then from the group chat, then from the news. There's no satisfaction in it, just a quiet inevitability. Like, of course, this is how it goes. Like the ground finally caught up to what was already falling. That night, I see Tyler. Harold and Bells is louder than I remember. Or maybe I'm just quieter now. Tyler is there for Taylor, not defending her, not excusing her, just present. I haven't seen him since his son's birthday earlier this year. He looks grounded. Watching him be there for Taylor in such a way makes me miss having him around. It deepens my respect for him. It takes a particular kind of integrity to sit at that table, to show up without co-signing, to love without lying. The next morning, Taylor is arrested. That one makes my knees give out. I have to sit down. I think about every moment I brushed past, every time she told me not to dig too deep. How that sentence echoes now, louder than anything else she ever said. I didn't reach out the cause, fuck her. By then, the city has no choice but to look again at Walter's case. The pressure is public now, documented, loud, unavoidable. I watch the system do what it always does when it's exposed. Stall, posture, pretend this was always under review. But this time the cracks are visible. Walter and I talk late into the night, separated by glass and rules. Don't get hopeful too fast, he tells me. I know, I say, but I'm letting myself believe a little. When the call finally comes, when I hear the words released pending review, I don't cry right away. I just close my eyes. Lord, I thank you. Walter comes home quieter than he left. Freedom doesn't undo what incarceration carved into him. I see it in how he scans rooms, in how silence now feels heavier than noise. But he's home. Our kids cling to him like they're trying to stitch him back into their lives with their hands. Later, truth settles enough to be spoken plainly, and I learn the full extent of Brian's involvement. And that's complicated. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed that he didn't trust us enough to speak. But I also see the fear in it, the manipulation, the way people like Dante knew exactly who to pressure and how. I don't absolve him of shit, but I understand him more than I want to. The friend group doesn't snap back into place, not fully. Some fractures don't heal quickly or cleanly. But my husband is home. The truth is out. And I know now, with a clarity that doesn't feel naive. None of this was random. None of this was accidental. And it doesn't end just because the worst of it is behind us. I've learned how to listen to the quiet warnings, and I don't plan on ignoring them again.
Epilogue. The paperwork almost disappears, and that's the part that stays with them later. Not the decision itself, but how close it came to never being a decision at all. It's late. Half the lights are off. The air conditioning hums louder than usual. Somewhere down the hall, A cart rattles as a cleaning crew moves room to room, erasing the day. The employee is alone at their desk, finishing what was assigned. Declutter, archive, close out the loose ends left behind by the expose. That's what this is supposed to be. Administrative cleanup, the boring aftermath of public truth. They aren't hunting for anything, they aren't suspicious, they're tired. Which is why the file almost doesn't register. It's mislabeled. Just enough, not wrong enough to raise alarms, not clean enough to belong. The date is correct, but the timestamps don't align the way they should. A thread of internal emails references approvals that don't appear anywhere else. Names are abbreviated. Departments are implied, not stated. The employee scrolls back up, then down again, slowly. They lean closer to the screen. This isn't explosive, it isn't dramatic. There's no smoking gun, no confession hiding in plain sight. It's worse than that. It's infrastructure. A quiet set of decisions that never stood alone long enough to be questioned. A pattern that only appears when you stop rushing. The employee sits back, fingers resting on the edge of the desk. They think about their job, about the stability they've worked hard for, about how systems don't reward curiosity unless it's sanctioned. They also think about how hard it is to unknow something once you've seen its shape. The cursor blinks. Once, twice. They don't report it, they don't flag it, they don't forward it to anyone who might turn it into a meeting. They copy the file to a private drive, unmarked. The kind you only open when you're ready to deal with what's inside. Saved. They shut down the computer, gather their things, and the lock clicks. The building settles back into itself, unaware that something unfinished has just been preserved instead of erased. Outside, the city looks exactly the same. It isn't. Walter still hasn't figured out how to sleep. Freedom does that to you when you've been without it. It feels less like relief and more like noise, like your body doesn't trust quiet yet. So he's at the kitchen table instead. The house is dim except for the light above them, a soft circle illuminating open laptops, legal pads, coffee that's gone untouched. His sleeves are rolled up. His hands rest flat on the table, grounding himself in something solid. Kiara sits across from him, posture forward, attention fully present. She's not chasing anything. She's cataloging. Ayla's there too, sitting sideways in her chair, one leg tucked under the other. She's brilliant in that restless way, the kind that sees connections before they feel real. She's been holding back all night, waiting until she's sure they don't start with conversation. They start with silence, scrolling, cross-referencing, letting the list speak for itself. They aren't looking at what Kindle published. That part already happened. That truth already landed where it needed to. They're looking at what didn't make it in. Names without headlines, addresses that repeat just often enough to matter. Roles that never touched the crime directly but controlled the flow around it. A corrections officer who appears whenever someone was temporarily reassigned. A tow yard dispatcher who never drove a vehicle but decided which ones moved and when. A cop that is always there but not there on paperwork, across files. Ayla breaks the quiet first. These didn't get exposed because they're not loud, she says, tapping the screen lightly. They're adjacent, peripheral, safe. Safe for who? Walter asks. For systems, Kiara answers, not for people. Walter scrolls, stops, scrolls back. He exhales slowly. The weight of it sits differently now that he's home. Not lighter, just clearer. I thought once I got out, he says almost to himself, it would feel like the end of something. A pause, but it doesn't. Kiara nods, because it isn't. Ayla leans forward finally. This isn't about revenge, she says. It's about understanding the whole machine. You don't pull one piece and call it justice. Walter rubs a hand over his face. He looks tired, but not broken. Changed, though, for sure. They built this quietly, he says. That's how it lasts, Kiara replies. Noise gets punished, silence gets promoted. They keep working. Eventually, Ayla points at a name on the screen. Just one. She doesn't say it out loud yet. Walter watches it sit there, unspoken, heavy with implication. We don't need to move fast, Kiara says again, closing one laptop but leaving the other open. We need to move right. Walter nods. The light clicks off. The house goes dark. And somewhere in the city, a file waits for the moment someone decides it's time. You've been listening to Pen and Perspective. If it sat in your spirit, let it linger. If it stirred something in you, don't ignore it. I'm Miana DK, and before I put my pen down, tell me, whose perspective should I sit with next?